Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation is the 10th pauri of Rag Maj, Mahalla Pehla, Slok. So Jeevaya Jis Vasiya Soi, Nanak avar na jeevai koi. जे जीवै पत लथी जाए सब हराम जेता किछ खाए राज रंग माल रंग रंग रत्ता नचे नंग नानक ठगया मुठा जाए विन नावे पत गया गवाए महला पहला क्या खादे क्या पैदे होए जा मन नाही सच्चा सोए क्या मेवा क्या घ्यो गुड़ मिठा क्या मैदा क्या मांस क्या कपड़ क्या सेज सुखाली कीचै भोग बिलास क्या लश्कर क्या नेब खवासी आवे महली वास नानक सच्चे नाम विण सब्बे टोल विनाश पवड़ी जाति दे क्या हथ सच परखिए मोहरा होवे हथ मरिए चखिए सच्चे की सरकार जुग जुग जानिए हुक्म मन्ने सिरदार दर्द दी बाणिए फुरमानी है कार खसम पठाया तबल बाज विचार शब्द सुनाया एक होवे असवार एक ना साखती एक ना बद्दे भार एक ना ताखती. In this passage, Guru Nanak is talking about the dignity of human life, to live with dignity, and he's also telling us how we lose this dignity and how to retain it. So he begins by saying, consider only that person to be truly alive, so Jeevaya, in whose mind that self has come to abide. Jis man Vasiya Soi, Nanak avar na jeevai koi. All others, avar, are not living. So what this means is, in the context of Gurbani, to be truly alive implies self-realization, which is an experience of fullness and oneness. So in practical terms, what this means is to be in agreement with life, to say yes to life, to be in harmony with the flow of things. Now, the flow of life is in constant flux. It is change and impermanence. That is what hukam is. So therefore, we need to be able to cope with this change. So dignity that he is talking about lies in our ability to negotiate and manage the temporal flux that we are in. And he goes on to say that to live otherwise is to be stripped of one's dignity. Je jeeve pat lathi jaye. And such a life is immoral and dishonest. Sab haram jeta kich khaye. So that's the key. How do we find that to be in flow with the flux of things? How do we manage to keep our balance? That is what sets a dignified life apart. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And now he comes to our present state. Raj rang mal rang rang ratta nache nang. Nache nang, vulgarity, a display of vulgarity. He says we are besotted with, intoxicated with ranga ratta. We are intoxicated with power, Raj Rang, and the love of wealth, Mal Rang. And then what do? We make a display of vulgarity. nache nang. Naked display, which we are all very familiar with. But Nanak says such an individual is engaged in self-deception. Mutta, thagya mutta jai. Mutta, self-deception. And what does that lead to? Thagya jai, that corrupts the mind. In this context, thagya is corruption of the mind. Thagya is cheating, but this is an expression to say that you're really engaged in self-deception and you're corrupting your mind and you're being cheated out of your inheritance, which is the development of divine qualities. Vinaname pat gaya goai. You're losing your dignity. And now he talks about a string of status symbols, consumption, the kind of lifestyle that a lot of us fantasize for and some live. And he questions it. He says, Kya khadde kya paide hoye, jaman nahi sacha soy. To what end? In other words, to what good is all the eating and consumption? To what end, to what good is all the donning of fine clothes? Kya paide hoye. To what end is all of this if the self is absent from the mind? Man nahi sacha soy. What is the point? And he carries on. Kya meva kya kyo gud mitha, kya maida kya mas. So what if you are actually enjoying meva, dry fruit, pastries, and so on? So what if you are enjoying the taste of clarified butter and sweet jaggery? So what if you're enjoying refined foods? So what if you're enjoying meat? And so what if you're dressing up, sleeping in comfortable beds, and enjoying sensual pleasures? And to what end, to what good is a standing army? Kya laskar? To what end, to what good are ministers and servants and living in palaces? Kya neb khawasi ave mehli vas? Says Nanak, except self-knowledge, all of these symbols of status will perish. Nanak, sache naam vin. Sabbe tol vinas. All of this is perishable. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, we are stuck, we are fixated on these things, and that is what he's cautioning us against. Don't get fixated on these things. And now he comes to the pauri, which is the message here. Although there is a continuation in the first few lines, because he goes on to say, what good is caste pride? He's also talking about the caste system. What good is it to be a Brahmin? And he cautions us. He says it is like poison in one's hand. Mohra hove hath, that destroys those who consume or possess it. In other words, if you have caste pride, you have poisoned your mind. It is like having tasted poison. It'll kill you. It'll destroy not only you, but it'll undermine the structure of society. Sache ki sarkar jug jug janiye, hukam mane sirdar dar dibaniye. And now he is pointing to us, hey, look around you. There is a regime, there is a governance, there is an authority that reigns through the ages. In other words, there is a natural order to things. Sache ki sarkar, governance, jug jug jani hai. It's been there forever. Hukam mane sirdar dardi bani hai. And the idea was submission, obedience, hukam mane. It is the ordinance, it is this process that is running the universe, we have to submit to it. Submit to it simply means we have to harmonize ourselves with it. We have to work with it. That, Guruji says, brings the highest possible status. At the door threshold of universal consciousness. Hukam mane sirdar dar divani hai. Dar divan. Got to look at this term. At the door of the court of the Creator, Divan. Now this is a metaphor, not to be taken literally, and really a metaphor for the threshold of one's own universal expanded consciousness. That is what we are trying to do, expand our consciousness through education of ourselves, qualities, and attaining that state intrinsically is the highest status that you can reach. Furmani hai kar khasam pathaya. Obedience, harmony. This was the instruction that the Creator sent us with. Tabalbaj bichar sabad sunaya, and once we came, Tabalbaj, the drummer, here a reference to the enlightener, to the Guru. The Guru then makes us hear and reflect on the discourse of the Shabad so that we may be reminded over and again what our real purpose is. Ik hoye aswar ikni sakati, ikni badde paar ikna takati. Hearing the Guru enlightener, he says, some are mounted, in other words, some are prepared, some are getting ready, others have loaded themselves with too much baggage, and some have run away. This is the state of the world. So essentially, the Guru is telling us that real dignity and honor lies in the sense of fullness that you develop from the inside. We have to remember that he questioned and challenged institutional structures that robbed the individual of personal dignity and justice. So being human and our shared humanity is a central plank of Guru Nanak's teachings. So it is only through self-realization that an individual comes to see or realize the true nature of universal reality, where that realization is that we are all connected, we are all one. And so that is the wisdom that we have to understand, that there is a perishable side dimension to this reality, but there is also a side that abides forever. That is wisdom. On that note, until the next time, Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.